So I asked parents if they had advice for teachers, and definitely opening the lines of communication is huge. Parents now know that this is an interest area of mine and that I'm really there, and they come and tell me things that I otherwise wouldn't have known. You know, a child at the beginning of school, he's a very, very anxious kid, and he found out to his surprise that he had been kept back in Spanish. He was going to have to repeat the same level of Spanish the following year. And that was communicated with the parent, but the email got, whatever, the parent didn't get the message, the child didn't get the message, and got to school and was just shocked. He seemed fine at school. I get a call from the parent, now this issue with the Spanish teacher, I'm not a Spanish teacher, I get the call from the parent saying, he's locked in his room and he's passing notes under the door. Help. Now, I wouldn't have got that call if she didn't know I was there for them. So definitely provide that open line of communication. And provide the parent with feedback. Well, I'm talking to the teacher in the room, but you know, the idea is that if you as parents know more about what's going on in the classroom, then you can help reinforce the expectations at home. You're not looking, the parents said, we're not looking for a free pass for our child. If we don't know the problems in school, we can't help you solve it. If you let them get away with stuff, you're doomed. So keep the same boundaries for these kids as others. And it also helps with the doctors and therapists if they know, parents know more about what's going on in school.
I was going to say for the parents, because a teacher, you have classroom dynamics, and so how they interact in the classroom. The child will go home and tell the parent their perspective, which is a whole new perspective on what the teacher says, but that's their world, that's their truth, and that's a very important piece that the teacher doesn't know, you know.
Yeah, how they experienced it.
Yeah, how they experienced it. So, I mean, so if there's something that really, really bugged them, you know,
or they perceived something as really unfair, or or someone was picking on them, because we know kids are really good at doing that under the radar, out in the hall, at recess, in the cafeteria, where there aren't adults around to hear it. So definitely. And then again, once the parent knows that, if they have a line of communication with the teacher, they can share that back. And then one parent said, please keep in mind that the child wants to be successful and happy. No child wants to fail and be miserable. So even though it sometimes appears that way, they really do want to be successful. And make the bond with the child as well. It's amazing what the child will open up and tell a teacher if there's trust and acceptance. If you can help the child find an area of strength or passionate interest, and then if you know that as a parent, let the teacher know, then maybe the teacher can create a lesson that, or a way of showing what they learn that speaks to that area of interest. Even though everyone else is writing a report, maybe this child can build a model or some alternate way of showing what they know. And again, you know, we know behaviors are just a person's best way of meeting a need in that moment. And so if we understand what need they're trying to meet, maybe we can help them learn some more productive behaviors to get that same need met. You know, the read and learn, as time permits, is directed to the teachers because we never have time. But if you can read any of the materials, if you don't have time to read a whole book, read an article. And then, you know, the kid just wants to be seen, known, understood, accepted. So I took a little avatar. I see you. So some of the adaptations, and as a parent, you can ask a teacher to try some of these if there is that openness. You know, there is this kind of gauging as a parent how much that teacher really wants to hear, is open to hearing. Sometimes it's less and sometimes it's more. But in my room we have the exercise balls that the kids can sit on, and you know, there isn't enough for every kid, but it ends up that kids who really need to be on those, they're there. And we have a system that works and it's pretty manageable. They take turns if they need to, and they can move around. I just ordered 2 stand-up desks, so it's got the workspace and they can lean on. It's got a little kick bar here, and same thing. Some kids they gravitate to them. They love them. And I tell them, some of you are going to learn a lot better if you're moving around. So move around. I do some brain gym exercises. That's a program that teachers or parents can learn. Go to Brain Gym on the web and learn more about that. But it involves some work with hemisphere integration, cross lateral work. And just before this workshop, I was outside doing my hookups, so I could not be as nervous. Sort of thing. So we do some of that in my classroom, and for some kids it's very calming, and for some kids just the movement part gets some of the wigglies out, some of the adrenaline out, some of the anxiety out. When you're anxious, you produce adrenaline, and if you can metabolize that, it takes the anxiety level down. If kids are thirsty or hungry, they're probably not really learning very well because part of their consciousness is focused on that. So I let my kids have food and water as long as it's not a distraction or a mess. Some kids need fidget objects, and they'll find them, and they'll use them. So if you don't want them fidgeting with whatever, if you want them to have something to fidget with, invite them to bring a fidget object, or I have some koosh balls. Give them a koosh ball. They can squish and feel and touch, or I just have little things around the room, or one child, a jar of beans. It's the sensory thing. It's the sensory stimulation calms him. Another girl brings like little figurines and lines them up. And you know, as a teacher, sometimes you're like, you're not paying attention because they're not looking at you, or they're fidgeting. But actually, they may be learning better than if they were having to sit perfectly still. You know, some of these things apply to their study area at home too. Find the best, seat, best setup for them when they're studying at home. Technological accommodations. There's so much now with the internet and podcasts and books on tape. They learn better visually. Then maybe they could watch a video. If they're a whole picture learner, they could watch the video before the lesson, some kind of overview, or they could watch the movie of the book that they're about to read so they know where it's going. A lot of these kids' writing is like the worst. They hate it. It's just, agony. But I've had a great breakthrough with one kid. I don't think I got, maybe 2 pages of writing on him all year last year. But his mom found a Dragon Naturally Speaking at the Goodwill. What a score. And he came in with a full page of writing, and he showed everybody, I've got this headset, and I just tell the computer and it writes it for me. And he's really excited, and he's writing. Dragon Dictation for iPod, Audacity, MaxSpeech, all of those are, it's not, technology is going to improve. But it's still, at least it's there, it's a start. For some things, if you just need to know, what does this child know about blank Greek philosophy? And they can just say, well, Socrates this and Aristotle that. If the object isn't to test their writing, if it's to test their knowledge, then can't they dictate it? And even with writing full compositions, if they can dictate their rough draft and then learn the writing process of revising, organizing, editing, at least they've got that draft down. Sometimes that's so daunting to get that first word on the paper. Sometimes in the IEP, kids will get a personal word processor that they can carry if they're really slow at typing. It may or may not be a help. As a teacher, if you know why you have the child doing a particular activity, the activity is a means to an end. It's not the be-all, end-all. So if you know why you need them to do this thing, and there's another way that they can show you that skill or that knowledge, then let them. You want to reduce repetitive drill and practice for gifted students. First of all, if they're really slow, it's going to kill them, and they don't need it because they learn things more quickly and actually may even reduce their mastery level if they have to do it over and over. Some of those slow starters that, you know, like, come on. I've had success using timers. So, you know, well, it took you 2 minutes today to take out your pen and open to the page for our daily warm-up that we do every day for 3 years. You know, that's me inside going, so I'm watching the clock and I write down 2 minutes. Okay, so tomorrow, see if you can get it down to less than 2 minutes. And then you've got a success to reward if they do. And also estimating how long you think something, you know, how long do you think this should take you? And then checking that against how long it really does take, so they get some kind of idea about how to manage their time. Talked about breaking tasks into smaller parts. If the teacher doesn't do that, then maybe you can work with your child at home to do that. And for our visual learners, if you can provide visual cues. I got to talk a little faster. This is just really more for teachers, but the idea, like I'll look at example 1, rather than grading on it, unless it's a test that has 20 questions and they got 20 out of 20. Did they do, if you're looking at a proficiency skill, did they do better than last time, same as last time, or worse than last time? What happens is sometimes the high flyers, they do well the first time and then they're like, oh, I don't need to do anything anymore. And, you know, what's the point? And so, you know, when the kids inevitably play what'd you get, which they do, then it might be that a high flyer has a minus because they were really slacking on the next assignment, but the kid who worked really hard and improved got a plus. It just sort of changes that dynamic of the kid who always gets the A and the kid who's always like, no, I got a D, you know, whatever, I didn't get a good score. So that's a nice thing to do for kids' morale. And always parents and kids, I mean parents and teachers, attribute the progress to effort rather than ability. Because then if they don't have success, then I must not be able. You know, that's the logical conclusion. So try anything, try something else. I had a kid who I didn't think I was going to get anywhere with, but this year I'm just trying absolutely anything I can think of, and little by little. So definitely, you know, celebrate the successes. Every step in the right direction. You can't fix the kid, but you can give them tools. You can give them experience of success and positive school experience, so that, I mean, some of these kids, school beats them up every day, and they just feel lousy. So you can give them that experience of success. If you can foster social connections, keep your eyes out, try to find another kid that they might click with, and then have them over for a play date or set something up. You know, it really just takes one friend to change school from a really lonely, sad place to a happy place to be. I leave my room open at lunch. There's some kids who just aren't going to handle it out in the big cafeteria, recess area, and they found each other. You know, so there's got a new little friendship group going. We were talking about this at the lunch thing too. Sometimes the symptoms are an expression of boredom and anger and frustration. Most of the parents that I interviewed, since their children have been in this SUMA program, which is rigorous and challenging and fast-paced and creative and hands-on and all of that, their symptoms, their behaviors are much, much less. So it's really important that the gifts get addressed, and you know, you can't take that attitude, we're going to fix the child first and then they can be challenged. It's got to go hand in hand. And when they're challenged and successful, sometimes they get a little bit fixed too.